Welcome to Weighing In with Wayless MD. My name is Sherry Stoka, and I'm owner of Wayless MD and Wellness. I'm here with Erica Gutierrez, who is a registered dietitian and functional nutritionist with Wayless MD. And today we're going to talk about strategic weight loss. So we're really hoping that people will get a better understanding, not only about what we do differently at Wayless MD, but really how we approach things. Because from a functional perspective, we're always looking at really the whole body and how do we get the body in a healthy state in order for weight loss to be long-term. So welcome, Erica.
Thank you again for having me. And I've really been enjoying working with you on this podcast because I think we're bringing up topics that people haven't heard of before. And what I've enjoyed most about this podcast and what we do at Wayless MD is, I get to be this forever learner. I feel like we're detectives in a way, looking for the answers and the best approaches for people, because this still is an emerging field. We're still learning things every day. And it fulfills me when we can inspire those who have lost hope over time. Those are the people that come to us and say, I don't know where to turn. I don't know what to do. Nobody can seem to help me. So it's been a real pleasure to help people in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're so right. I mean, this really is about being a detective and really looking at things from a, more of a holistic perspective. I mean, ultimately, because there is so many complexities, that's why we talk about foundational health, because if you can go to the foundation, then you can kind of get the body to respond and things start to just naturally get back into balance. And I know we talk about the root of a tree often, because I think people can really relate to that. And really, if you think about a tree, if the roots are damaged, ultimately the tree is not going to be vibrant, and it will die earlier than it should, because the roots are not healthy. So let's dig into this a little bit more. And I think it's really important first to start out about talking about the current weight loss, programs, the current diets that are out there. People try these, time and time again, they fail. And so, oftentimes we get people that have tried and been to, every clinic under the sun. So I think start there. Tell us a little bit more about the current diets and why they don't work long-term.
Sure. I just had one of our VIPs actually come in and talk about how she did keto, and we hear this from so many patients, and then all of her cholesterol numbers went through the roof. So there's a place for keto, but you have to do it right, and it's not for everybody. And that's part of what I want to get across too, is you might have heard your neighbor successful on this program or that one. That doesn't mean it's right for you. So some of the things we've been, that are still trending, keto still is there, the paleo, the Whole30, all of those. Fasting has been really emerging, and it's for a lot of people, but really it's not for everybody still. Immune supporting with everything going on with COVID. So everybody's trying to eat differently based on their immune system. And then plant-based as well. That's been around a long time, but I've seen a real reemergence of people going more towards plant-based. So, people are really putting a ton of focus into one area, like don't eat meat, or don't eat carbs, or don't eat during this window. But there's way more to the whole picture. We're missing so much of it. And it is, each person's different on the right amount of calories. We can't go too low. We know, we've talked about that many times, that strategy doesn't work, but we do need the right amount of calories, the right amount of nutrients. There's strategy around how to get to those abnormal fat stores that are so hard to reach. Inflammation and processed foods. If we are just cutting calories, but still having those things in our diet, we're not going to be healthy overall. We're not going to reach our goals long term. I know we've talked about this too, but gut health. If our gut is not healthy, we're not going to be able to absorb the foods. We're going to have bloating. We're going to be in a constant state of inflammation, and our body does not want to release weight at that point. You're talking about the root of the trees, the signaling of all of our different hormones and thyroid. Those things are primary. We have to make sure those things are in check before our body's able to lose weight. And then, of course, it comes to mindset. Do you believe you truly can do it? Are you afraid of failure because you've failed before? That's why, I think we have to look more than, oh, is this current fad diet going to work for me? You have to look at that whole picture. So with that, maybe you want to go a little bit into the importance, a little bit deeper into, why we need to rebalance the body.
Yeah, and you bring up a lot of very important pieces, because I think people just need to stop relying on willpower, right? I mean, people still have that mentality, like you said, it's about the mindset, and they're probably telling themselves, some negative things. They're worried about what's going to happen after. They're suffering while they're going through it. And, they finish a program, say they lose weight, and then, it comes back so quickly. So it really is getting the body to a place where weight loss is sustainable afterwards. And the only way you really can do that is if you start to create those balances in the body. Because when that the body's starting to heal, when you're not having significant cravings, this, I mean, we hear it all the time, sugar cravings. People have cravings all for so many. I mean, obviously sugar is a big one, but there's just different type of cravings that the body's lacking. So the body just naturally and instinctively craves certain things. When your body's not in balance, that means your hormones are going to be all over the place. So that's going to affect so many aspects of your health. It's going to affect your sleep. If you're not sleeping enough, getting at least 7 to 9 hours a night, you can imagine it will be almost impossible to lose weight, because when you're, not getting enough sleep, you're putting your body in a very stressed state, where when you're in a stressed state, you're going to release cortisol. Cortisol is going to spike your blood sugars and your insulin. It's just like this vicious cycle. And that's going to cause inflammation in the body. And ultimately, it's going to affect the brain and the gut. So, there's many core reasons for these imbalances. And once we start to see things improve, it's almost like a chain reaction. And people are actually shocked, because, how often do we hear it? I can't believe that I'm not hungry on this plan. I can't believe how much energy I have. This is what it's all about. This is not about putting you on, a program that you're going to literally, just suffer through for however long you go on this particular program for.
And when you're on the right plan, it will feel easy. What we do is push so hard against what is going to work for our bodies. So we have to experiment, that we're each unique, and we're finding with genetics and all of that, we're all different. But when you find what's right for you, it will feel much easier.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to really point out that that's not going to happen immediately. There is going to be a period of adjustment. And once you kind of get past that, because, I was just on a call with one of our VIP patients, and I can't even begin to tell you what week 1 looked like compared to week 2. It's night and day. So sometimes, you kind of have to go through that period of adjustment, but then once you're past it, now you're on the road to really, being able to sustain, like you said, it where it's not so difficult.
That's a really good point. I even look at our body changes all the time. So what's worked for you in the past doesn't necessarily work for you right now. I look at the amount of sleep, people will always say, oh, I do just fine on 4 hours or 5 hours of sleep because that's what they're used to, but they don't really realize what it would be like if they had 7 or 8 hours of sleep.
Absolutely, I know. And it's, when people hear these little key terms often, and we will continue to talk about them until, as long as we're in the business to do this, because it is so crucial to weight loss. And we still all want to focus on how many calories we're putting in our mouth and how much exercise we're getting on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, if you have a lot of stress and you're not getting sleep, it's a deal breaker. And so again, just, important to reiterate those points. So let's dig a little deeper into our programs. So we have what we refer to as strategic weight loss, or our signature weight loss programs. These are programs that are designed for they are for very quick weight loss, but they're very safe and they're very effective. And the reason why we created these programs is because they heal the body at the same time. So we're kind of accomplishing two different things at once. So why don't you tell us just a little bit more about why these programs are strategic?
Sure. So we have three because we do want to be able to customize the best program for each person. So we have a little bit of variety, but they all are doing the same thing in the body. They're all supporting our body's processes in releasing those visceral or abnormal fat stores, which are just, we'll keep saying this too, they're so hard to get to those by just reducing calories and exercising. And what I love is that it helps reset the hunger signals. So, the big push about intuitive eating, I think that's great. But if your system is set up where the hunger signals are extremely off, it's really hard to get into intuitive eating until you do some sort of a reset. So that's part of what our programs do. And then, as you briefly mentioned, our meal plans take out common inflammatory foods that cause additional cravings. And it actually, I know we talked to patients about this, but people get nervous to go on such a low calorie diet because are they going to be hungry? What's happening in the body is when we release fat stores, those fat stores have a lot of different nutrients stored within them. And the energy and the nutrients within those fat stores are feeding our body as we're losing weight. So HCG has been our core program for the longest time, but we knew we needed some alternatives. And I know, Sherry, you spent a lot of time looking at the research, and what we provide is therapeutic dosing and, really importantly, pharmaceutical grade herbs and nutrients that really help support the body with metabolic balance and weight loss. So our two supplement versions of the HCG, if you want to say that, is HCA Lean and HC2. So HCA Lean, two of the ingredients I want to pull out and talk about is forskolin and acetyl L-carnitine. So both of these really help with that releasing of fat stores. And what it does is it transports it to the cells for energy. So people are feeling great because they're still nourished, their gut is having a time to heal, they're not having those inflammatory foods, and it's all working in a really good process. HC2 works in the same way, but it uses different nutrients. You may have heard of African mango. There are really key amino acids. Those are the building blocks for protein in the therapeutic doses, like I mentioned, that help with the metabolic balance. There's adaptogenics in there, which I love, that helps people de-stress and it helps boost energy without giving that, the feeling of caffeine where you're wired. It doesn't do that. I think a lot of people think when they take different weight loss supplements that there's going to be that caffeine component and they're going to feel wired. Our supplements don't do that at all. They're actually nourishing and supportive. And then what I really was looking for in the HC2 was having something to support the detox pathways. And I think that's a really key piece because as we're losing or releasing those fat stores, there's toxins also in our fat stores, and our body needs a way to detox all of that. So I know there was a whole lot of information, but hopefully that was helpful to talk about, why our programs are so great.
Yeah, and just to reinforce some really, really important pieces that you talked about is number one, really recognizing that we do have different fat stores, and doing the same programs over and over by lowering your calories and just kind of tweaking the diet literally will not get after that, that really trapped fat that you were talking about, the abnormal fat. Well, you have to strategically go in there and mobilize it and transport it to the area where the body will actually use it. So that is so important. And then our newest program, the HC2, you talked about detox, and people throw that term out there haphazardly, really. And it's so important because we do live in a toxic world. And like you mentioned, toxins are stored, the body stores it in the fat, to protect the body. And we are mobilizing fats so quickly on our programs that those toxins do go into circulation. So that's something that we're factoring in with our programs, because we have to make sure that we're not causing more harm to the person, because we both know, some it's a mild detox. There's obviously more aggressive detox programs where you have to be, you have to incorporate some other things because you can really clog up the detox pathways. But again, things to think about when you're on these programs. If you're feeling horrible, it's because you're likely detoxing and not supporting that.
I'm glad you shared some of that more, because weight loss is actually very complex, and it's over the years been summed down to eat less calories and exercise, and we know that that's not true. I think it'd be helpful if you talked a bit more about HCG. We run into all this misinformation and confusion out there about what it actually is, and is it safe or not? I know you've been doing recent webinars about it, so if you could just sum that up a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm just going to try to sum this one up. But no, it is honestly, I think at some point we could literally sit and talk about that entire manuscript that I have written. And HCG, just to help people understand what it is and what we're asking people to inject, it stands for human chorionic gonadotropin. So it's actually a protein dimer, and it has pro-hormone effects in the body. And really, when I say it has pro-hormone effects, means that it has, hormone stabilizing effects in the body. So I think most people that come in and they've heard of HCG, they'll say, is that the pregnancy hormone? And yeah, I guess you could say that it is the pregnancy hormone, because it is produced by the placenta when a woman becomes pregnant. And it's produced at very, very high amounts. So when the female body is during pregnancy, her hormones are skyrocketing, and actually HCG is produced so that it supports the balance of the hormones, so it doesn't get worse than what a female is already going through. So the next thing that I probably should mention is, okay, obviously men are doing this program as well, and obviously, very effectively they do this program. But HCG can actually be found in very minimal amounts in both men and women. So it's been around forever. I think now it's going on 80 years. It is FDA approved for fertility. So it is not approved for weight loss. And I won't get into all of that, other than the FDA decided not to approve it because they said there wasn't enough studies that it showed that it was effective for weight loss over just calorie restriction, which obviously we would, disagree with. But it is approved for fertility. So, and what I wanted to mention about that is when we're putting people on the HCG program and they're taking, the small dose of HCG injections, it is such a tiny dose compared to what someone would receive for fertility. And I'm talking, over 10,000 international units of HCG versus, just like 100 in the diet that we utilize. So keeping in mind that it is safe, it is safe for the human body. It actually can be very beneficial for males because of the testosterone component. Remember, it's a prohormone, so it actually can increase testosterone levels in men that are low in testosterone. And it doesn't, it's a hormone balancing, HCG helps with hormone balancing. It doesn't cause an increase in any particular hormone. It will, again, bring something down if it's elevated, and if it's low, it'll bring it back up. So I think that's also very important to point out, just because so many people not only lose weight on the HCG diet, but they feel better. They report feeling better. I mean, there's so many different, symptoms that we can describe about what people go through. But I think those are some of more of the scientific part of things. And, as far as the diet component, I don't know if you wanted me to get into that, because I feel like I'm just kind of, really going on a tangent right now.
That's okay. I think just talking about how it resets in the body, maybe another podcast for the whole diet piece.
Yeah, I know. So how it resets, and the main pieces to this, and I was going to get into all of the sciencey part, and then I decided not to. So that's why I'm trying to go back to the summary. But the main things HCG does is, like I said, it rebalances the hormones. It actually resets the hypothalamus. So ultimately, the brain is what ultimately drives and makes the decision of how the body uses energy. So it also can reset that. So it can reset your weight, your set point. Oh my gosh. I'm all over the place right now. So it resets your set point. And again, the main thing is really targets the inflammatory or abnormal fat.
So I do like to point out, people get nervous with that prohormone word, but if you look at it, or really look into what prohormone means, vitamin D is a prohormone. So it's just putting things in perspective and really understanding what that word actually means. So just wanted to mention that. I think it's important to talk a little bit more about what we consistently see with the HCG results, and why it's been our cornerstone program. So when the body, when we have that small dose of HCG, we have a real reduction in hunger. So when we're not hungry, it's so much easier to follow a plan, for sure. When motivation runs out, as long as hunger is not there, people can stick to it. And then people see such quick changes. We're flushing fat. We're not degrading muscle or anything like that. So you can see changes in how your clothes fit very quickly, and the number on the scale. The other really nice piece, when we talk about the energy piece and the balancing of hormones, the meal plan specifically reduces inflammation. And a lot of people have food sensitivities, and it reduces a lot of those common inflammatory foods, and it allows the body to heal. So essentially, while they're on that program, we're setting their body up for long-term change and success. And it has been just a really great formula that we've had over time to get people to have that success long-term. Now, I know we touched on the 3 different programs, but maybe you could go into an example of who would be good for each of our 3 different signature programs.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay. So the first example I will talk about is somebody who comes in, so let's say this is a 50-year-old female, comes in, she complains of hot flashes, mood swings. She has been gaining a significant amount of weight around her waist, the middle section. So someone like this is going to be a perfect fit for HCG, because again, HCG really targets that visceral waistline very, very quickly and very effectively. And also, like I had mentioned earlier, it helps balance the hormones. So with the hot flashes that she's experiencing, these mood swings, she's 50 years old, so she's at the age where her hormones are going to be fluctuating quite a bit. So a person like this is going to be, we will recommend HCG for most, obviously, if they don't have any contraindications or anything that would suggest they shouldn't be on it. So another example would be, say somebody comes in 40 years old, they have complained of a fatty liver, they've had their gallbladder removed, which we see this quite often, and they have a long history of just eating very unhealthy processed foods, and they are retaining a lot of water. So someone like this, we're definitely going to recommend our HC2 program. And the reason why we would recommend our HC2 is because we really need to support the detox pathways, the liver, the gallbladder, and the kidneys. And with someone who obviously has a fatty liver, that just means that they have a very congested liver, and it really needs to be supported. And of course, fluid retention, that means, the kidneys need to be supported. So with our HC2 program, they will not only lose a significant amount of weight, but they'll also detox and really clear that up at the same time. So another example would be someone who comes in and they either have a lot to lose, or usually this is someone who has maybe like 20 to 30 pounds to lose. They work out a ton, and they would find it really difficult to give up working out because it's a part of their holistic program, and they need that to kind of stay focused. They complain of really low energy, and age-wise, typically this is either younger or to middle-aged type of person. We would recommend our HCA Lean program for someone like this, because it is really we really have some flexibility as it relates to their meal plan, and we can increase their protein to offset, or to compensate for the higher exercise amount. And it really is full of B vitamins and other nutrients that are going to support the mitochondria and energy and that type of thing. So hopefully that kind of helps with really identifying with the three different programs and where they would be slightly different.
It does. That was really helpful. I'm going to put you on the spot. And what about for all those? So we mostly see women, but we do see a significant amount of men. So the typical man we see would be middle-aged, and it could be 20 pounds, but it could be 50 or 100 pounds they need to lose. And which program do we find most success with?
I mean, we're always going to go to HCG first, because what we know right now is that HCG really has more significant healing properties. It's really doing other things in the body. We know that HC2 helps with detox and fat mobilization. We know that HCA Lean helps with fat mobilization. But again, HCG just has been used for so long. It's been studied on so many different levels, and it does have the benefits of those other components. So I would say, and I don't know if you would disagree, but we're often going to HCG first.
Yeah, I would agree. What we find with men is it's a lot of times poor eating habits. They're really unaware of how many calories they're actually eating or the types of food. And by just switching and having them stick to the HCG diet, it works really well for men.
Well, yeah, and then I forgot to mention just again, going back to the testosterone, because many overweight or obese men have very low testosterone. So HCG will immediately bring that up bring it up to a normal level. And the vitality that we see in men almost instantly is pretty significant. So that's, testosterone is not only going to give a man, their vitality, but they're going to see the muscle, that testosterone helps with muscle mass. So now they'll start to see the muscle mass increase while they lose weight. So that, we see that all the time. So now we can kind of start to wrap up here. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our 365 program, because this kind of brings everything together. And we developed this program probably about 6 months ago. And, to be quite honest with you, I was literally thinking one day, as I don't know, maybe I was reading an article and I saw, once again, a membership for a gym. And I was thinking to myself, why do we all look at exercise as something that we have to work at all the time? But when we look at weight loss and health and nutrition, we think it's a short-term thing with lasting results. And so I thought to myself, well, why don't we create a membership for weight loss? And that's essentially what we did. So our 365 Balance program is an annual membership. You get 3 programs per year. So we set it up at very specific times to do throughout the year. And you can choose whichever program you want. So you can do HCG, you can do HCA or HC2. And like I said, you're doing it at very specific times. So our hope is that we're keeping people very focused throughout the year. So when they say do a program in January, they'll complete it towards the end of, middle February, somewhere around there. And then a little time will lapse and then they'll start thinking about their next program, and we're supporting them along the way and sending them, tips and healthy eating. So this is really to help people think about health all year round and pay a very small monthly fee. They've committed to it and treat it just as like a gym membership.
I think it's really helpful. So we have noticed that we have our repeat patients that come back throughout the year, but what has happened is a lot of times they're like 6 months too far gone. They should have reached out 6 months earlier, and they had gained a little bit of weight back or just have fallen into bad habits. So I think the thing that really helps with this is, instead of being fearful at the end of their program, they have a plan already set for a few months out. So we're going to help them at the end of their program with how to maintain the types of goals we should set. But life happens and things change in life. People need to shift. And at least it changes the mindset. It's to a membership. It's to the idea of the gym, like you talked about, where you have to work on it all the time in order to be successful. And that was definitely the intention around the 365.
Absolutely. It makes such a good point about that, because when people are completing a program, there is a lot of anxiety. And with this, they know that they're going to stay on track because they're going to be starting another one. So it really is changing just that whole mentality of short-term fix, fall off, gain the weight back. No longer are they thinking that way. Now they're thinking, okay, how do I continue this journey and, plan for the next one.
So now that we have this in place, our listeners by now should know we're always looking at new things, new ways to approach weight loss and health. Do you want to share a little bit about what's next for us?
Yes, absolutely. So I think I will just mention, we've created these programs, we have created very detailed protocols. So now we're really selling this and helping other practices offer weight loss to their patients. Obviously, being overweight, obesity, this is an epidemic. It's not going away. And we want to touch more people. We want to help more people. And if we can use our, strategic weight loss programs to do that, that's why we're going about it this way, and really trying to partner with other businesses. So that's a big push for us, obviously a big part of the time that we spend in developing programs. But at the end of the day, it is all about really looking at the human body. It is looking at how the body functions, how the body heals, and how the body stays in a healthy state. And weight loss is awesome. We are very successful at getting people to lose weight in a healthy way, but ultimately some people need a little more help. And we've created so many different cleanses or detoxification programs that support specifically the liver, the gut, the emotional or the psychological aspect of weight loss. So really, I think our focus is going to be using those programs in conjunction with our weight loss, because I think people are really they understand that. They understand that they do need more support. Obviously, their focus is weight loss, so that's fine. Let's get the weight off you, and then we will help support with the continuation of really the rebalance part.
And part of, even with like our 365, people have the option to get one-on-one support and do additional work if they want. That I really like that we are able to customize and we shift for people based on their needs. So I think that's definitely something people would say when they come in, is they feel supported, they feel that we listen to them, and we can customize a program based on them. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and our focus obviously is to get results. I say it all the time that every day we have a morning meeting and we're like, who's not doing well, who needs extra support, what can we do to get this person to a place where they're happy and they're healthy. And so ultimately that's the goal. And hopefully we can just continue to help more and more people, and we'll continue obviously to talk more about very important topics and go from there. Anything that you want to, before we wrap up, anything you want to say?
I think we covered a lot in this topic. The only other thing I can think of that's coming up for us is IV therapy. We're going to start doing that with our nurse practitioners and offering a different way to get nutrients.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we obviously will be talking more about that, but it will be such an important piece to the whole, body healing aspect. And, with all of these, issues that people have in chronic conditions, to deliver nutrients so quickly and so effectively really will make a very big difference. So awesome. Well, yes, we did talk about a lot, but I definitely look forward to our next topic, which I don't believe we have identified yet, but it's probably along the lines of like autoimmunity and the immune system, since we're kind of really getting into the season.
That sounds excellent. Look forward to it.
All right. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks.